How do I respond to a friend who wants casual sex to reinvent herself? And this was a question asked by a female about a female friend. It's not like a male friend who was saying, this person wants casual sex from me. This is a girl asking about another girl.
Number one, I'm asking the question, is this person a believer?
Yeah, because if they're a believer or if they're an unbeliever, you're going to handle that situation totally differently.
For sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I would say, regardless, rather than reinventing through having sex, maybe we could try being born again.
Yeah.
It's a different type of reinvention.
It's true.
But I can almost promise you,
the old is gone, the new has come.
it will yield better results.
It's true.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Let's Talk About It podcast by Moral Revolution. My name is Daniel Madry.
I'm Ellis Madry.
And today, it's a big day. It's a big day for us because it's actually our last podcast of 2025.
That's right. This is the very, very last one. And so we thought we would wrap it up with some questions from the audience.
Yeah, you guys have been asking a lot of spicy, dicey, curious questions.
That's right. Our single people are out there struggling. You're like, look,
I
just give me some practical tools. Help me to not struggle as much as I'm struggling.
I'm going to tip one out to the single. Pour one out. Tip my hat.
Yeah.
To the single people because I lived that struggle so long. So I empathize with your questions. And we're going to do our absolute best to give you wisdom and insight and guidance, tips and tools and encouragement to keep on going, doing things God's way.
Yeah, it's going to be good. Before we dive into that, we actually wanted to let you know about something really exciting that's happening right now. We are in the middle of our end of year campaign here at Moral Revolution. In case you didn't know, we are a nonprofit, and that
means we make no profit.
We make zero profit. let me be very clear about that. And we actually exist and get to bring you conversations like this one, where we dive into the nitty-gritty details of God's design for sex and relationships, simply because there are people like you who are out there and who are generous enough to support our ministry. And so we would love to invite you into being one of those people who makes this podcast happen.
Yeah, absolutely. This is our ask. We're going to ask, would you consider giving $5, $10, $20 a month? That would be an incredible help to us, because while maybe none of us can fund us, maybe no one can fund all of us by themselves, maybe you can help be the reason we're funded this year. And so we would ask, would you consider giving a little something every month? How do you do that? Check the show notes. Click on the link and you can give there. It's through our platform, Fundraise Up. You can also go to our website, moralrevolution.com. Click the donate button in the top right-hand corner. So I want to encourage you, if this has been any bit of encouragement to you, please consider donating to Moral Revolution. This is a worthy cause. I'm so glad that someone's out here talking about the things that we all want to talk about with biblical revelation and clarity and a heart to really just please the Father.
And here's the deal. We had more than 113,000 of you download a podcast this past year.
On.
And so if every single person.
I just did the math. If everyone gave $1,
we would meet our end of year goal.
Guys, we would be funded.
And so we just ask, hey, if this is ministered to you at all, would you come alongside and sow into it and join us in that way? Okay, should we dive into the questions?
Let's dive in.
Oh, it's funny. Actually, before we hit record on this podcast episode, we were talking about generosity. And, Daniel is a pretty generous person, but he had a moment of stinginess. You got to just tell the story.
I haven't always been so generous. I remember, listen, whenever I was a young adult pastor, we were doing fundraising to go on a mission trip. And these two girls wanted to meet with me afterwards. And they were like, hey, Pastor Daniel, they're like, we're like really struggling. We don't have any money, all of this stuff. And as they were telling me this, I had a little Tupperware of these energy bites, like peanut butter, honey, oats, stuff like that. These energy bites that I had been wanting so bad that someone had brought for me. And so they were telling me it was late, it was after service, and I knew they were hungry. I knew we were all hungry. But in the back of my mind, I was like, I'm not giving you any of my energy bites. I'm not going to do that at all. And so they're telling me, and I'm just encouraging them, not offering energy bites. And I'm like, you guys got it. I'm here to help you do the fundraising. We're all going to get to go on this mission trip together. And then someone popped in the office and was like, yo, I'm doing a valet thing this weekend, and I got a Mercedes Sprinter van. Y'all come take a ride in it. And we were like, let's go. We were all young adults. And so I grabbed my backpack, grabbed my energy bites, stuck my energy bites in the backpack. We went out there, and he's like, yo, Daniel, do you want to drive it? And I was like, sure. And so I jumped in the driver's seat, and I started driving. And shortly afterwards,
immediately.
Yeah, I hear a bump, bump.
Doom, doom.
And I realized I had just run over my backpack. And because I set my backpack down as we were looking at the outside of it.
Yeah.
And I realized I ran over my backpack, and I was like, immediately I thought I should have shared those energy bites.
Wasn't your laptop in your backpack?
I went down to look at it. I opened it up. The Tupperware was crushed.
Okay.
All the energy bites were crushed, and my laptop was bent in half.
Oh.
And I made a decision right there. God, I'm going to be generous the rest of my life.
That is so funny.
So you should give to our campaign $5, $10, $20 a month, and the Lord's going to protect all that is yours.
Wow, that is an insane pitch. That is an insane pitch. We are not cursing your backpack or your laptop, but we are asking you to give to our end of year campaign.
Absolutely.
So check that out.
Well, babe,
in the show
let's dive into the Q&A. I know we have some very exciting questions to talk about today.
We
so
do.
How about you kick us off?
Okay, well, let me say this. All of the questions that we got, and we put it out on Instagram. We were like, okay, people, what's going on? What are you struggling with? What do you want us to talk about on the podcast? And we got so many questions that specifically fell into 3 buckets. Okay, these 3 buckets were sexual temptation and self-control. That's kind of the first bucket. The next bucket was emotional attachment in relationships, specifically toxic attachment in relationships.
We love that.
We do. Well, we don't love it, but we love to see people get healthy. And then the last category was kind of a catch-all of like dating and boundaries.
Right.
Okay, so we're just gonna dive in off the cuff, help our single people out here.
Let's go.
How do I respond to a friend who wants casual sex to reinvent herself? And this was a question asked by a female about a female friend. It's not like a male friend who was saying, this person wants casual sex from me. This is a girl asking about another girl.
Number one, I'm asking the question, is this person a believer?
Yeah, because if they're a believer or if they're an unbeliever, you're going to handle that situation totally differently.
For sure. Yeah, and I would say, regardless, rather than reinventing through having sex, maybe we could try being born again.
Yeah.
It's a different type of reinvention.
It's true.
But I can almost promise you
The old is gone, the new has come.
it will yield better results
It's true.
than sleeping around.
So let me say this. If the person that this question was asked about is a non-believer, Paul talks about this specifically in 1 Corinthians. And it's interesting because I'm going to read the scripture, but this is right after Paul's exhortation to believers to live sexually pure lives. And then he says this, I wrote you in my letter not to associate with immoral people. I did not at all mean the immoral people of this world, or with covetous and swindlers and idolaters, for then you would have to go out of the world. But actually, I wrote to you not to associate with any so-called brother. So that would be a believer if he's an immoral person, or covetous, or an idolater, or reviler, or drunkard, or swindler, not even to eat with such a one. For what have I to do with judging outsiders?
Yeah.
Like, what do I have to do with judging an unbeliever? Do you not judge those who are within the church?
Right.
But those who are outside, God judges.
Yeah.
Remove the wicked man from yourselves. That's
Yeah,
what he
so
said.
this is what I'll say. If this person is not a believer, which I hope that they're not based off of their prescription for reinventing themselves.
Yeah.
If they're not a believer, You really have no commentary on them sleeping around. You could be like, hey, that's dangerous. You could catch an STD.
Sure.
Like, are you sure your heart's ready for that? Like, that could be pretty painful. I would absolutely use it as an evangelical opportunity.
And that is where I'm getting at, is when it comes to talking to unbelievers about a biblical sexual ethic, the absolute best thing you could do, and your responsibility as a believer, is to live a biblical sexual ethic.
Yeah.
You've got the epistles. Paul writes to the church in Thessalonica, and he's like, you need to uphold a biblical, you need to have a high sexual integrity. Then in his letter to the Corinthians in 1 Corinthians, he's like, you're called to a higher standard. You need to hold this biblical standard. That's obviously not exactly how he says it, but that is the thought process. Why? Because the way that we steward this area of our lives does show that we live according to a different standard than the world. You let your life tell the story of the transformation that the Lord has done in and through you.
Right.
And when you're the most joyful, secure, I don't need to reinvent myself. God has defined everything about me. He knows every hair on my head. Mm-hmm. I live with such a a confidence that comes from the Lord. Okay, you let that speak to that friend if they're an unbeliever.
Right. If they're a believer, stop going to lunch with them, according to the scriptures. Of course, if they're an unbeliever, I would challenge them very, very bluntly.
Now, scripture does talk about it being appropriate for believers to confront sin in other believers.
Yeah.
It says this in Galatians 6:1, brothers and sisters, if someone is caught in sin, you who live by the Spirit should restore that person gently, but watch yourselves that you too may also be tempted.
Right.
Okay, so it comes with a warning. As you restore others, do it gently. You should always be moving in humility. Your goal is their restoration, not their humiliation.
And at the end of the book of Corinthians, Paul says, bad company corrupts good character. And that's why he's saying, hey, if you're keeping close relationship with someone who is living in that way, it's like leaven and it will influence you, whether you know it or not. These are not my words. These are the words of Paul, citing 1 Corinthians. Check it out. Chapter 7 is the one on sex and sexuality.
Yeah. I would also say this. Jesus talks about why are you so obsessed with the speck in your brother's eye while you've got a plank in your own? And so that's not to say that you shouldn't confront sin. You should absolutely confront sin in your friends who are believers. But it is an invitation to say, okay, God, examine this part of my heart and my life. Is there any area in me that's offensive to you? I think we can, at any time we're looking to confront sin in someone else, it's an invitation from the Lord to confront any sin that may be there in ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, this girl asked, what are some practical tips to deal with sexual urges as a single person?
Gosh, first off, I don't know the questions because we have already agreed that I'm better off the cuff. If I study too much, it weirds me out. I have a brilliant strategy for you.
You've said this before.
I'm taking it back. Someone didn't hear it though. This is for the people in the back.
Okay.
Listen, whenever I was young adult pastor, God gave me a revelatory thought on how to overcome sexual sin and masturbation. And I remember it was almost just like he spoke to me and he said, tell him hands up. And I was like, hands up. And then immediately I thought, well, yeah, if your hands are in the air, it's really hard to touch yourself to masturbate. And you're in a perfect position to be like, God, I need your help. So if you are feeling turned on, this is practical.
Yeah, no.
Like, you want practical advice? Tell me this doesn't work.
Okay.
If you are feeling turned on and you are like, I'm trying to keep my hands to myself, literally put your hands in the air for like 5 minutes.
Or my hands not to myself.
Yeah, or your hands to when you're with someone.
Your hands somewhere else.
Now, when you're with someone,
your hands not on yourself or others.
Now, when you're with someone, you don't want to lift up your hands because, baby, that shirt can come off easy.
That's crazy.
I'm sorry.
That's a crazy thing to say.
No, I do think, honestly, this is so practical, but arousal comes from touching yourself. I mean, obviously, it doesn't start there. It can start there.
Yeah. It could start in the imagination.
It basically starts in the mind.
Yeah. And they say the biggest sexual organ in the body is the brain. So
bet.
A lot of things are originating
That's
in the
why
mind.
I married a girl with a big brain.
All right.
You do have a big brain, though.
I do. I'm just wondering the implications of that. We need to get this one back on track.
We're on track, baby. I never left the tracks. This is exactly where I wanted to take this conversation.
Fantastic. Yeah, you're right. When you put your hands up, it gets them out of the way.
It does. I think just not touching yourself whenever you have those sexual urges is actually going to take you far.
Yeah.
And maybe for some of you guys, it's like, hey, don't lay down. Maybe go walk. Yeah. Maybe drink a glass of water.
That was one of my first initial thoughts too, is you need to change up the situation that you're in.
Which endorphins are you chasing? Let's not the masturbation ones, but maybe the exercise ones would help.
Or just connection, like wanting to feel connected to someone else. Or it's like, okay. The other thing that I think is very practical is tell someone.
Yeah.
You know, like I think when you bring someone else in to that situation where you're just like, I am feeling really
ready.
I'm struggling. Here's the deal. A friend of mine, when before she got married, she would just call her mom and she'd be like, Mom, I'm really struggling. I tell you what.
Bet.
And her mom would be like, go for a run. You need to get outside. You need to go for a run.
Moms for the win.
You need to switch it up. And they had such a fantastic relationship where it was just like there was nothing off limits that they talked about. But I remember when she was like, yeah, anytime I'm really dealing with a sexual urge, and sexual urges are normal.
Yeah,
I mean, we're sexual
normal
beings. God created us with sex drives. It's something that you learn to steward. And so I think practically remove yourself from the situation. If you're Daniel, you're putting your hands up. I think
someone's going to see me in church.
Hands in the
and they're
air.
going to be like,
that's crazy.
Daniel must be feeling a certain way.
Oh my gosh, that is wild. Okay, so hope that helps.
Absolutely.
Hope
I
that
think it
helps.
did. Someone got set free.
I mean, take some thoughts captive. I think that really helps as well.
Yeah.
Like find a way to very practically stop whatever is playing in your mind.
Right.
And
here's the
different
deal.
direction.
This was a very practical response.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, obviously, that we're triune being, body, soul, and spirit.
Yeah.
That was a very body answer. The soul answer is connection.
Yeah.
It is, uncovering. It is vulnerability.
Yeah.
And it's wild. Some of you guys are listening and you don't this doesn't quite click in your mind, but whenever you don't feel connected to people, your artificial connection would be pleasure.
Yeah.
And so what I would say is if you feel like your sex drive is maybe a little higher than it should be, and we all have sex drives, once again, I would say work on human connection, work on communicating the hard things to people, work on having every thought that comes, not, within every train of thought that you're having, make sure someone knows about it. Yeah. Keeping things isolated, alone, secret, that is a breeding ground. That's like trying to overcome porn and masturbation on hard mode.
Sure.
Like you can't do it.
When you're dealing with this issue from a soul perspective, like from an emotional perspective, those are fantastic tools. I think a lot of the tools we're giving are just, hey, this is just you asked for practical, this is practical.
This is saying I'm a healthy person, I'm right with the Lord. I'm not, I'm not introducing myself to,
but I have a sex drive.
Yeah, but
so
I'm
like,
a
what do I
normal
do?
human.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This statistic honestly blows my mind a little. 89.5% of the people who watch or listen to this podcast regularly aren't yet subscribers to the show. So before we dive in, could I ask you one thing? If this podcast has ever helped you, if you care about honest, unfiltered conversations around God's design for sex, dating, and relationships, would you hit subscribe? It's free and it helps us more than you know. And our promise to you is this: we'll do everything in our power to make this show the best it can be. We'll take your feedback, we'll keep answering your toughest questions, and there's no conversation around God's design for sex and relationships that we'll shy away from. Thank you. Okay, next question.
Let's go.
How do I prepare for marriage when waiting has created a mental block around sex and then suddenly it's just allowed after the wedding?
How do I prepare for marriage when waiting has, so it's like, this is bad, this is wrong, now it's good.
And all of a sudden, switch flipped and it's good.
Yeah. How do you prepare for marriage? Number one, I would already go after that thought pattern. I would say, because there's a difference between no and not yet.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And I think maybe some people, especially in the purity culture movement, were really conditioned for no, and suppression. And really, we need to be kind to ourselves and say, hey, this is good. This is actually great, but it's not yet. It's not yet. And so I think if you're trying to prepare yourself for that, I think you need to go ahead and retrain your mind so that you can kind of get your mental state in the right place.
I love that you said that because you haven't seen the notes that I wrote down. You're going in totally blind. But the first thing I wrote down is rewire your brain to believe sex is good.
Yeah.
Because I think most people who have this specific problem,
right,
their issue is that before marriage, the narrative is sex is bad, sex is bad, sex is bad. And that's a hard one to rewire. Right. And so I think even when you are single, just like you said, if you believe, no, sex is good. God created sex. I can't wait to have sex one day. Like, let's get honest about those things. And let's align what we believe about sex with the way that God designed it.
Right.
And one of the key parts to God's design for sex is that it was designed to only exist within the covenant and safety of marriage. Yeah. And so it's like that not yet becomes amazing.
And here's the deal. The tools are helpful until they're harmful.
Sure.
And I think she's already seeing, wait a second, I've developed a mentality that actually might come back and bite me in the butt later on.
Exactly.
This might actually come back and cause some issues in my marriage later on. I need to go ahead and take initiative to say, how can I rewire my mind to set myself up for success in marriage, which is something that I think if you're single, if you're trending that direction, and maybe you weren't even thinking that your thoughts around sex is bad, but maybe this is a little flag to say, oh, should I reconsider what I actually believe to be true about sex so that whenever my time does come, I'm in a right place to truly enjoy what God has given me.
Exactly. The other thing I would say is just from a biblical perspective, God talks about sex from the very beginning of the Bible. In Genesis 2:25, this is what he says, Adam and his wife were both naked and they felt no shame. And so if we're looking at what God's design for sex is, he never meant for sex and shame to be anywhere near each other in any association at all.
Or vulnerability and shame, because that's essentially what it is. We taught a class where I hyped up that verse and I was like, seeing your spouse naked is like, or being seen naked by your spouse.
Yeah.
Okay, guard your hearts, guard your minds.
Yep.
But it's, at first it's like super like
very vulnerable.
Very vulnerable. And if you're not comfortable in your own body, you actually could be not the Garden of Eden, naked and unashamed, but you're naked and you're ashamed and you're kind of hiding.
And so I think we see that if in God's design, shame was never meant to enter into this area of sexuality, then we have to take inventory of the way and the lens through which we see sexuality and say, if there is shame around any of this, it's contrary to the way that God designed it. There's something off about my thinking, and I need to be transformed by the renewing of my mind.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. Should we move on to the next one?
Be comfortable naked. That's my final word on it. Go on, babe. Someone tweet that. Someone tag me.
We need
X me.
You know what?
Daniel Madry.
We need an episode next year on just from Daniel how to get comfortable with yourself naked. That's crazy.
That is funny.
Mom and Dad, please stop listening. Okay.
I can see the reactions now.
Yeah. Okay. The next kind of section was emotional attachment in relationships. And this person said, how do I stop chasing validation from others?
That's a really good question. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
I think you are chasing validation from others because you're insecure.
Yeah.
And so I think you need to get to the bottom of what you're insecure about. Like, what exactly is the root cause of your insecurity, and how can you get that need met by the Lord?
Right.
Because logically, you can know, okay, this person's validation is going to feel good momentarily, but I still feel
I can't live on it.
I can't live on it. I still go home at night and I feel like junk about myself.
Right.
Okay, so that really isn't getting me anywhere. Okay, we need a longer lasting solution to this.
I think the real challenge is that all of us have insecurities.
Yeah.
So it's not like an on-off switch of some people are insecure and others aren't. Where if no one's told you yet, there is an area where you're insecure.
Yeah.
I remember one of my pastors one time. I was like, "Coach me, coach." And he's like, "All right, you're insecure." And I was like, "Swing and a miss." How funny is that? And then he read my receipts.
Yeah.
And I had no idea.
You were unaware.
I was unaware.
You were insecure and unaware.
I was insecure and unaware. The name of this episode.
Insecure and unaware.
We need
that's
to do.
That's a double threat right there.
We need to do an entire episode on this. But let me get back to what I was saying. The challenge is that we are all insecure in some area, and validation does feel nice. I want to take this one level deeper. Yeah. If you're chasing validation, I think one of the things that I would start to do is I would start to affirm others.
That's okay. I like that. Go on that.
Because this is an ecosystem. What I have seen is that people who are judgy are the most insecure.
You reap what you sow.
And need the most validation. So if I can decide, I don't care what this person's wearing. I don't care if they stumble over their words. I don't care how much money's in their bank account.
How attractive they are.
I don't care, how attractive they are. My job as a follower of Christ is to reflect love and acceptance to everyone. And what you will see, you nailed it. It's the law of reaping and sowing. If I am affirming others, I think it creates a healthy ecosystem of affirmation that actually, it doesn't give me, pillows for my insecurity to lie on. It offers healing to the broken areas of my heart.
Well, and there is that scripture about love others as you love yourself. Love your neighbor as you love yourself.
There's our biblical precedents.
Okay, so obviously if your issue is I'm having trouble loving myself, practically, let's look for some ways to give to others, to love others, to express that love to someone else so that we can also start to express and receive that love for ourselves.
And it's how do we reset? It's the concept of a flywheel. How do we reset the flywheel?
What's a flywheel?
A flywheel is basically a pattern where you feed it something and it goes through phases and then begins creating its own momentum.
Okay.
It would be a different analogy for the same thing as a greenhouse. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like you can grow anything in Antarctica if it's in a greenhouse.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you can create a greenhouse or a flywheel in your life that says, "Hey, in my ecosystem, I'm here to affirm. I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to criticize.
And I'm not here to beg for your affirmation.
Yeah.
I am here to affirm.
I realize that I'm a giver, not a taker." Yeah.
Yes, I contribute. I don't just consume.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, that's really
good.
good.
And it really transcends multiple areas of your life. You can take that into marriage too.
Yeah, you really can.
You can take it into your work life too. You can take that into your finances too. You know where you can take that? I'm joking.
I was like, are you just going to name
Go on.
every area?
Speaking of flywheels, just
You're insane. Okay, here we go. We're moving on. How do I release an unhealthy attachment with someone else?
yeah. I mean, and this kind of gets into the conversation.
Oh, excuse me. How do I release an unhealthy emotional attachment with someone else? Maybe emotional was implied, but I felt like it should be stated.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Two things that I would know of. Number one is time. Dang it.
Yeah.
No one wanted to hear that.
Yeah.
Some of these things just take time. There are other emotional connections that might be, I would say, unhealthy.
Okay.
I think it's normal to mourn the loss of a relationship. And it's normal for that to take months, you know? Maybe it's not normal for everyone. The way I'm wired, I'm down for the count. Bro, I'm like, check back in the spring.
Yeah.
When the little things start blossoming.
You have a tender heart.
I do.
Yeah.
Under all of this camouflage. Very.
I almost didn't see you there.
Really? I'm joking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, there's a tender heart under there. I like that about you.
Yeah. Tender heart.
Yeah.
So down for the count for a few months. What I would also say is we can't neglect maybe a deeper connection that's happening here. If you were having sex with this person, that there's some soul ties there.
Sure.
We have a biblical precedent for that. We actually have an entire episode on that. It was fire.
Yeah, it was
It
good.
was honestly
Earlier this year.
and
we
one of the
talked about soul
hottest
ties.
episodes of the summer for sure. Except for our Love Island episode. Y'all go check those out.
That was crazy.
Except for, never mind. So yeah, I would say time. Time. I think connection with other people probably opens up the airways of the heart. And if you're having fun with others, you're having connection with others. I think oftentimes what that does is it brings in blood flow to a part of your body that's kind of atrophied.
Yeah.
And so I think that it can really help with a healing.
I think practically speaking, time only works if there's a clean break involved. So you might have an unhealthy emotional attachment with someone that you have broken up with, but you're still chatting. You're still putting yourself out. Like there's still points of contact, and man, that could go on for a long time. But you're really just keeping that wound open for an unnecessarily long period of time.
Or you're stalking their social media.
Yeah.
You're unwisely putting yourself in positions to be in contact with them,
Yes.
whether they're an active participant or not.
I think one thing that's really helpful is if you try to identify what need am I trying to get met within myself by being attached to this person. Like, what is it that I'm looking for? In the same way that we were talking about chasing validation, it's like, what is there that's trying to get satiated within myself by staying connected to this person?
My heart not hurting.
Yeah.
Maybe that clicks with someone, but for me, I'm like, I don't know. We were in a relationship and I loved them.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. But I think sometimes we can look to others and unhealthy people.
Right.
To
Certainly there can be, my identity is yoked to this person.
Exactly. And in that case, I think you really need to do some due diligence to figure out, who does God say that I am?
Right.
And
I can exist apart from them.
Exactly. Like, God didn't make me and this person together. You know what I
Right.
mean? I am in my own person. I have a divine and unique calling on my life, and I can exist and be healthy and whole as an individual.
Mm-hmm. But you're my soulmate.
Well, we are married.
We were made for each other.
You and I are going to theologically disagree on that. I do agree that you're my soulmate because
You're
my
the-
soul mated to you
You're
when I
the-
decided to marry you.
Define mate.
I tie. I think
Tie?
that goes right back into the soul ties conversation.
Like if we're playing checkers and we're at a stalemate and we're tied.
No, not like that. You're determined to derail our conversations. You're absolutely determined.
Why won't you let me have fun?
Okay. Are you ready for the next question?
Let's go.
Okay. How do I attract deeper, healthier relationships?
You attract what you are.
Yeah.
Also, I remember one time I feel like I had a huge revelation on relationships whenever I was fishing with my dad. Mm-hmm. And in fact, my dad's name is Grady. I did a message called What I Learned About Dating from Fishing with Grady. Not a
great.
podcast, a sermon. Yeah, for our young adult ministry. And a lot of throwbacks to young adult ministry today.
Okay.
And one of the fundamentals of fishing is, you catch based off of your bait.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, that's how you know what you will catch, is what you are putting out there. Mm-hmm. And so I think, you've got to reverse engineer it and say, well, what kind of person do I want?
Yeah.
Well, what kind of things are they attracted to? Mm-hmm. Are they attracted to stability? Are they attracted to, I'm going to throw out some things that are just preferences of mine. I'm attracted to an educated person. I'm attracted to someone who probably loves God, an awkward amount, you know what I mean? Not a nominal Christian. I'm attracted to blonde hair specifically. Mm-hmm. That doesn't change. I'm not going blonde.
I'm going to get these roots touched up and we're going to be fine.
Yeah. Well, and that I was going to bring that up. No, I'm joking. I honestly don't even see the roots.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, what does a godly woman want? Oh, well, they want a godly man who can lead.
Yeah.
Okay, what does an educated woman want? Oh, they want someone who's kind of keeping up with, world events,
or who's intelligent.
Yeah, who's intelligent, who can speak intelligently on different areas. I also, I appreciate the arts. So it's like, I want to be versed in culinary skills. I want to know a thing or two about art. Yeah. I want, those are the things that interest me, mm-hmm. and that we can connect on. And so I think if you're trying to attract someone, mm-hmm. think about who am I becoming that's attracting the person I want to be with?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. I think, you're wondering how to attract a deeper, healthier relationship. I really think healthy people spot unhealthy people from a mile away.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's not even from a place of judgment. It's just from a place of discernment.
And
it's
that's how
I would never be interested in this person, or I would there are some non-negotiables that I'm looking for. This is such a non-starter, mm-hmm. because I am healthy and I'm looking for a healthy person, and I can just see off the bat we've got some insecure and unhealthy tendencies.
I have something stuck in my mind.
What?
You said unhealthy people can see unhealthy people a mile away. And I was like, and that's how I stood out to Ellis. She couldn't help but notice me a mile away.
No. Here's the deal.
I was a work in progress.
He was. But we have both grown a ton in the context of our relationship.
And in different areas.
Yes.
Because there were ways whenever we got married that you realize I'm healthier and further along than you were.
Exactly.
And there were other ways that you were obviously healthier and further along than I was.
Yeah.
And thankfully, we have the type of culture in our relationship where we have both risen.
And we can be honest about those things.
To the other person's level of health, because we recognize.
And I think we both had the other person's non-negotiables.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think we both, I said.
Glad I married you, babe.
Me too, baby. Okay, here we go. We're going into dating and boundaries.
Love that.
Dating and boundaries. How do I build intimacy without sexual compromise?
Well, I immediately think about the intimacy ladder.
Yeah.
And it is where your level of commitment matches your level of intimacy.
Yeah, you need to imagine a relationship like an A-frame ladder, where at the top, the two sides of the ladder meet, and you have peak commitment, which would be marriage, and peak physical intimacy and emotional intimacy and spiritual intimacy, which would be sex, marriage,
showering together.
Fill in the blank.
We could go into details, but it's irrelevant. It's not pertinent to the conversation.
You're crazy,
babe. These notes are insane.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking. So what? Continue, babe. You were describing the ladder. The top is obviously ultimate commitment, ultimate physical expression, and intimacy.
But the reality is you should be traveling up that ladder on both sides at the same speed. So your level of intimacy should never outpace your level of commitment in a relationship.
Right. And that's why it's bad to have probably deep, emotional, futuristic conversations with someone you're not even dating.
Well, and that's the other thing that I think is a misunderstanding about this question in general, is that intimacy is not just physical intimacy.
Right.
There's emotional intimacy because you have a soul. There's spiritual intimacy because you are a spirit. And there's physical intimacy because you have a body.
Baby, you're a brilliant teacher.
And so you are building in the process of a relationship, you're building intimacy in all three of these areas. And so you are, as you're gaining traction in your level of commitment, you're also gaining traction in the level of emotional, spiritual, and physical intimacy that you'll introduce into a relationship.
So where are our physical boundaries, say 3 days before we get married?
Oh man. Doing everything you can to keep your hands to yourself.
I mean, hand on the leg.
Honestly,
how high can we go?
Sometimes I think the closer we get to marriage, the more strict our boundaries need to be.
Babe,
just because
that's
it's like,
a word.
I mean, yeah, it is.
That's a word.
You seem surprised. Let me also say this. The question was, how do I build intimacy without sexual compromise?
Right. Okay.
Sexual compromise in a relationship actually robs the relationship of intimacy.
Okay.
Because sexual compromise is stealing trust out of a relationship. And intimacy is built through deposits of
So
trust.
it's a violation.
It is a violation of trust. What you're doing is every time you build trust, you're making deposits into your relationship bank account. Sexual compromise overdrafts your account.
Let me break this down.
Okay?
They said, how can I build intimacy?
Okay?
Number one, if you want to build intimacy, say you're not even dating, you're interested. The first way you build intimacy is time.
Yeah.
Into me you see.
Yes.
Intimacy. Obviously, that's not the exact definition, but it's a great word picture.
Sure.
I get to see into you as I'm being around you.
Yes.
I get to build connection with you as I see the way you live your life, as we converse, as we have conversation. And I think beyond spending time, once you're going deeper, then we're sharing feelings and emotions.
Yeah.
We're communicating about, X, Y, and Z. Think about, this is what's funny. Intimacy is about knowing. You have no idea. There are so many levels.
Knowing and being known.
Yeah, knowing and being known. There are so many levels of intimacy that don't involve sex. So think about this. How does this person load the dishwasher? That is actually intimate knowledge. I am knowing you.
Yeah.
I am learning you. There is so much life that you can do together. There is so much intimacy that can be built with someone that is actually a greater preview into understanding, do I want to spend my life with this person?
Yeah.
Because sexual chemistry is easy.
Yeah.
That's for the birds.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It takes nothing to do that.
Yeah.
Building an actual intimate understanding of another human being, how they tick, how they click, how they work, Babe, where did your mind go?
How they work.
How they work. That's right. How they work.
How they work. That's what you said.
You don't have to cross any boundaries for that. That's why people who don't kiss until they're walking, until they're at the aisle, or at the altar, that's why they can have beautiful marriages, because they built intimacy and never really brought the physical side into it. And that's
Also,
their choice.
That's their choice.
Yeah.
Other people kiss, long before long before the day they get married, and they can have beautiful,
Absolutely.
pure dating relationships as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, last question. How do I get healed when someone flirts with me and then ghosts me?
Well, the good thing is healing, the degree of healing corresponds with the degree of hurt.
Yeah, it corresponds with the degree of wounding.
Yeah, wounding.
And if someone is just flirting and then they move on, that's different than that's a different level of emotional depth that you have with that person,
right,
than someone who it's like, we've been in a relationship for months, and this person ghosted me,
right, or we were engaged and it got broken off,
okay,
like that
really requires some healing.
That's painful.
If you're having a deep emotional wound because someone flirted and ghosted, then I'm kind of saying, what's going on in your own heart to be that invested from that point?
Yeah, maybe
that's not to justify the ghosting. It's not to justify the flirting with zero intention of follow through.
Flirt with no convert.
Yeah, right. But it is to say, if you're hurt to the degree that you're like, I need healing over this, then I'm kind of going, okay, I think you were getting a level of security out of that interaction that you should not have been deriving from something so soon.
Yeah, maybe there's something deeper happening.
Sure.
And I think you're absolutely right. I would begin evaluating, why did I feel that way? Why was that so heavy? Obviously, it's exciting whenever someone's flirting with you or you're in that type of relationship. It could be hope-filled.
Sure.
It could be a lot of things that are really good and exciting. And sometimes those don't come to fruition.
And it's natural to be disappointed.
Yeah.
Like it's like, man, that sucks. Don't do that.
And I'll circle back. Number one, you do need to evaluate and say, hey, is there something going on that it hurt that bad?
Yeah.
And maybe it's something you've wanted for years and years and years, and it finally came around.
Sure.
And so there's that connection that had been built and the dam kind of broke. And, in that case, I would say it'll just take some time.
Sure.
And even if that's not the case, it'll take some time. But I think regardless, maybe just evaluate, like, hey, is my heart connecting at a healthy pace?
Yeah.
Or is this trying to, maybe meet a need that shouldn't be met by, flirting or a relationship?
I would say process the disappointment, how you should healthily process any disappointment that you face. But I also think you need to let the immaturity of the person who ghosted you be an assurance to you that you don't want to marry them anyway.
Dodged a bullet.
You dodged a bullet. That person ghosted you. They have zero communication skills.
Well, we also don't know the background of this because they could be interpreting the flirting, and not just because you're flirting.
Yeah, maybe you misread the flirting.
Yeah,
maybe you misread the flirting. But let me also say this.
Now, if someone's like, "Hey, I'm interested. Hey, we're going on dates. Hey, I'm talking about the future with little breadcrumbs, and then I'm just leaving you."
And then they're ghosting?
Yeah, that's
they're
a bigger
immature.
deal. Yeah.
They have
very
zero
well could
communication skills.
Yeah.
And communication is like the number one skill.
It's basically all of marriage.
That makes a healthy marriage. Okay, so they just disqualified themselves from being someone who should even be a candidate for you.
Good.
Babe, that was it.
Okay. Well, guys, y'all asked some fantastic questions.
You did.
So thank you. We love it when you engage on our Instagram. We always are posting fun things.
Yeah. And this is our last episode of the year.
Yeah. It's been a good year, babe.
It's been a good year. We will see you guys in 2026. And just a reminder to give to our end of year campaign.
Go to moralrevolution.com, click give in the top right-hand corner. Say $5, $10, $20 a month, or a one-time gift of your most recent paycheck.
If the Lord so leads you, you can do that. All right, guys. This was a great 2025. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you in 2026.
We'll see you next year.
Imagine what could shift if your whole community heard this message live. Here's the thing, we don't just podcast. We travel across the world to high schools, colleges, churches, young adult gatherings, talking openly and honestly about God's design for sex, dating, and relationships. If you've ever thought, my group needs to hear this, we would love to come. Just hit the link in the show notes to bring the Moral Revolution message to your world. Let's have this conversation together.